Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome to another Q&A episode. Today I'm gonna answer as many of the questions as possible, the questions that you guys left in the comment section of my videos. So without further ado, let's get to it. Today's video, of course, is sponsored by rePotme.com, who offers you everything you could possibly need to properly take care of your orchids, from pots to potting mixes, accessories, fertilizers, and everything in between. And not only for orchids, but also for other houseplants as well, such as cacti and succulents. So I'll link you to them down below. Feel free to check them out at any time. I will also link you to the products that I really like and I currently use, like the fertilizers and the pots, and things that I've liked along the way that I'm sure you'll enjoy as well. So you can check them out in the description. And with that said, let's start. I always tell myself, don't linger, just make the answers fast and concise to go through as many as possible, and every time I fail, so let's just get to it. I'm gonna do my best. So first question from Phyllis Lewis. Hello, I am a first-time orchid person. My purple orchid bloomed and I have buds. The very top of the stem is bare. Should I cut it shorter? How do I get more buds on it? I also have another one with 2 buds, but the tops are also bare. Can you help me? Forgot to say both plants have great leaves. So I'm gonna guess it's a Phalaenopsis because that's what most of us start with. That's the most common orchid in flower shops. So the top of the stem is bare. I think I know what's happening. You might actually have secondary shoots and the top of the stem is bare. That is absolutely normal, absolutely fine. There is a chance that from the very top of the stem you can actually still get some growth, but it's not necessary. So if that bare stem bothers you, then you can cut it. It's up to you. And what can happen if you cut it right above the first node, like 1 inch above the first node, and I'll put somewhere on the screen some images to help you out. What can happen is you can get multiple branches lower, so you can get more blooms off of your orchid. It is not a guarantee. There are certain environmental factors that help, such as lower temperatures, but I'm not gonna get into all of those things. I will, however, point you to the description because I have like an entire playlist on Phalaenopsis and the intricacies of Phalaenopsis. If you're at the beginning, it's gonna be a fun watch to discover your orchid, I think. So yeah, about cutting the flower spike, it's up to you, whatever you feel like doing. If it bothers you, cut the top. If not, let it be, see what happens. You might get cakeys, you might get buds, who knows? You might get nothing. It's not a guarantee for anything. That's the fun of orchids. Next question from Loris Lane. Great video again, so helpful. I don't know which video this was, but thank you. I also adopted your way of watering and love it. It made possible to have more orchids. That's why I water the way that I do. First, because I'm so tired. I'm so tired. It's tiring watering orchids, and I can't. As I age, I can't do it anymore. And I also want to have more orchids, not just 10 that I need to get to the sink, right? Let's get to the question. I'm digressing. Regarding fertilizer, when it comes to calcium, do you know if orchids can absorb the calcium as it is available in tap water? Which fertilizer do you use that has calcium in its formula? Thank you. Well, yes, I do believe orchids can pull out calcium, both calcium and magnesium, from tap water if you have these elements in your tap water. Some people have more of them, some people less. Some people are very lucky, in my opinion, to have very soft water and very few of these elements in the water because you can actually control it with fertilizer. I have a lot of calcium and magnesium in my water. Too much, actually. It deposits in time, so I'm using reverse osmosis water and I'm just dosing fertilizer. The fertilizer that I use for the past 7 years at this point is the MSU fertilizer. Currently, it's rebranded by rePotme as Feed Me. I'm not entirely sure if it is the same formula, but I'm not sure if the name Michigan State University fertilizer still is around or they made a deal, or I really don't know. I don't know, but it's the same thing. I have been using this since before my collaboration with rePotme because it is a full menu fertilizer, as I like to call it, meaning it does have all the nutrients you are interested in, macros, micros, calcium and magnesium as well. So I don't feel the need to add calcium and magnesium. I have never noticed the deficiencies of calcium and magnesium on my orchids. I'm very happy with how they grow, and I have been happy with this fertilizer for 7 years. So that's what I do, and especially because I'm using reverse osmosis water, I need to fertilize my water. But if you feel you need to supplement because your fertilizer maybe doesn't have a full menu list of nutrients, you can supplement. Don't overdo it. Like if you use tap water, already a fertilizer that has calcium and magnesium and you want to add CalMag to the recipe because, I don't know, YouTubers say so, don't do it. It's too much. Don't overdo anything. Anything that is good, if you use it excessively, it stops being good. Even water, like you can drink too much water. Right, next. First name, last name has asked us something. Hi Danny, I'm wondering why are my dendrobiums growing an anomaly of flower spikes with 0 leaves, but has roots like a keiki? I find it odd. Was it a keiki or a flower spike? Because it seems like both. Okay, I think you're referring to nobile type dendrobiums. Well, there is a type of dendrobium which is very known for creating issues and confusion, which is the kill me or stardust or something like that. That guy makes a million keikis. It makes the flower spikes and then from there creates roots and creates keikis. Sometimes it can actually skip on the flowers and in the end it overbears the mother plant and it dies. That's been my experience with this orchid for many years or many times. So I'm guessing if you have one of those nobiles that is related to the kill me, it's prone to doing that, and I'm sorry I don't have a nice answer for you. I stopped growing the orchid because I don't like it. So if you have this guy, it does that. It sooner or later, you know, you can have it a season, 2, 3. I have a hair that was ticklish. You can have it a few seasons, but at some point it's gonna be like done with its life. That has been my experience. But I don't know what you're saying this has an anomaly, growing an anomaly of flower spikes with 0 leaves. Do the flower spikes have 0 leaves or the orchid has 0 leaves? It can grow flower spikes with 0 leaves. Eventually, even nobile dendrobiums lose their leaves. So it sounds pretty normal. But if you're having one of those yellow nobiles, oh boy, I don't know what to tell you. I never have good luck with those. Other than that, it sounds normal. Next up, shoot for less stars. Oh no, shoot for the stars. I was about to say, yes, bestie, same. I'm shooting for as less stars as I can. I'm getting whatever I can and I'm happy with it. Hi Danny, do I need to purchase a fan for my orchids? No, you don't. I have a fan. He's here. I don't use it now because it's kind of cool and I can ventilate this room pretty well, and because it's cool at night now, I close the windows and I leave the door open, and it's just like, you know, it's not very humid in here. You don't need a fan, to be fully honest. Fans do help to some extent, especially if you splash water around and you have that environment which is rather cool, maybe rather moist. Conditions in which water doesn't evaporate in time, yes, fans absolutely can help, but they're not necessary. And I've had my entire balcony days at some point, they were fanless because there was no point. There really was no point. It depends on your environment. If you feel like you can stomach a fan in your home all the time, do it. If not, don't. I get it. If you're growing your orchids in the living room, it's fine. The idea is not to have excessive moisture because our homes are not properly ventilated and air exchange is not happening at all times. Things build up in the air, but you can go fanless if you really want to, as long as you ventilate your house and you aerate once a day at least to refresh the air. Next comment from one of my members. I'm gonna try to make a resume of the comment. So there are 2 unrelated questions here. The first one is about buds that won't open fully. I think I know what it is. My Phalaenopsis Orchid. Let me Google which one this one is. I forget, I'm an old lady. Shoot for less stars. I keep thinking about it. That's a great motto. I'm shooting for less stars because, you know, I shot for too many stars and I got disappointed. So my viewer's Phalaenopsis Orchid has 5 buds and one of them has been half open for a week now. The others seem to be doing same. Is it normal or is there something I'm doing wrong? I highly doubt there's something you're doing wrong. Sometimes orchids have little glitches. I was considering that maybe you have a pyloric orchid, and a pyloric Orchidiana sounds very interesting and pretty rare. But if it's just one flower and the rest are normal, maybe it's not a pyloria. Maybe it is an anomaly in the genes. It happens. Sometimes I think I did have a Phalaenopsis that did that at some point and then, you know, it was normal again. It's usually just genetics. And we also have a video. Let's see it. All right. Yeah, I don't think it's pyloria or anything. I think is just a little bit of a glitch. And I'm guessing it is genetic in nature. I wouldn't hazard to say there's something wrong in your environment. I know that's the default that people go to, but in my experience, it's the least common thing, because I know we're all giving such good environments for our orchids, and especially with a Phalaenopsis polykylus, it's hard not to give the right conditions. So I think it's just a genetic thing. See how it's gonna do like in the following years. If it keeps doing it, you know, maybe consider getting a different one. That's sometimes the cruel truth with some of these orchids. We buy them from nurseries. Sometimes they're obtained from seeds. Not all seedlings will perform as good as others, but don't give up on it yet. Of course, you have to give it a chance. Maybe it's the first flowering of the orchid. If it is, you know, the first flowering is never the best. The second question about thrips. Oh dear, let's not speak their name. I followed your advice last year and used Celliflora Coreal combi sticks, and they were really good. However, they are not available anymore. Oh no. I heard you mentioning spinosad, so I have purchased some, but there are no instructions on how to use them. How do you use them, and is it effective? Yes, it's highly effective. Spinosad just like saved my collection pretty much. I have used the brand name Laser. I will link you either here, or like I will put an image here or below. I followed the instructions that were on the website. So it depends on what product you purchase, because I don't know the concentration, but I'm hoping the link that I will share with you down below, or like the image that I'm gonna put here, I'm hoping it's gonna be useful, but it really depends on the concentration of the product. And maybe you have the concentration on your product. If it's higher or lower than what I'm giving you here, maybe adjust it for that. Other than that, you know, I really don't know, because I don't know what product you have, but it is very useful. So I'm hoping you'll be able to use it. Next question from Jennifer. I have a Binosa key lime Cattleya. I have two directions of growth that both produced sheaths last year that looked like they had buds inside, but just never developed. I know the struggle. Understandable, as these were first growths in my care, and I assumed the orchid was just selling into my environment. Fair enough. This year I have two more growths, even taller than the ones that were blooming when I purchased it. Both have created sheaths and both look like they have buds. Wondering if there is any way to tell whether all these will bloom. Wondering if there's anything I can do to encourage them. No, sadly, there is no way to encourage them other than giving them the proper conditions. Cattleyas don't have like that trick with the cool down, or at least most of the Brassavola hybrids. They don't have this trick necessarily. It is highly likely that the first blooming you experience was just not that great because of environmental or actually getting adjusted to the environment. But let it do its thing now and see how it does. You might have a great surprise, and you know, try not to stress about it. I know it's hard, but I think it's absolutely fine. Let it be. The only thing you can do is make sure she's not overly dehydrated. Actually, all orchids, but especially Cattleyas, if they get majorly dehydrated, they will give up a bud, sorry. I have one that did that. As you might know, they also give up their roots sometimes. They do that. So that's the only thing. Just make sure it doesn't stay bone dry for way too long, because that can actually affect the buds. Also, another thing you can, I'm thinking of solutions now. Another thing you can do, if you think maybe the buds got rotten inside because of the very high humidity, and we talked about this very recently in one of my videos. What you can do is just cut the tip of the sheath. It's not gonna harm anything, really. You don't have pests, you don't have anything that can enter and attack the buds, right? So it's not gonna harm anything. Maybe the buds rotted last year because of the higher humidity. I cannot tell. Usually you have to go through the trial and error, and you have to let the orchid try to bloom a few times before making a decision. But if you feel like you need to do something now, these are the two things I would do. And I hope you get wonderful blooms this year. Next question, I'm gonna do a little bit of a resume. So my viewer has very varying humidity in their house. It can vary from 30% to 70%. In the winter, they have 30% because the heaters are working, and they are using some moss combined with bark. And it works great in the winter, but then in summer, when it's humid, the pots stay moist for very long. and they started to smell sour like mildew. That's not good. My pots are mesh plastic and the decorative pot also has ventilation. Should I not use moss? I water by soaking the pot then draining. Oh, okay, but only when I think the medium is dry. Thanks for your answer. Well, the solution is easy. Just don't soak them when it's humid. There is absolutely no need to run a little bit of water through the pot, or just like I water my orchids, drip a little water in the pot and the moss will absorb it and it's fine. That's all you need to do. You don't need to soak anything unless you need to. There are multiple ways of watering orchids which are great. In our, or my at least, tutorials, I show you that in bark chips you can soak the orchids, because that kind of applies to the majority of homes. But you have an unusual situation, I would say, because I don't have, maybe and others don't have the same conditions, in which your humidity varies so much that it's hard to find a medium that will be top-notch throughout the year. So you have to adapt. Watering is not a one-way thing. You adapt what you need to do. If you need to do something, then do it. So yes, you can give up the moss and try bark, but then in winter you're gonna have to really water those orchids, but you're gonna be fine in summer. Or adapt your watering, and in summer do not soak the orchid so much, just sprinkle some water to make that moss a little wet, but not soaking wet, because if the humidity is high, the orchid loses less water through its leaves. That's the good thing about humidity. It's not a magical thing that you should have. It just reduces transpiration. That's all it does. So your orchid doesn't need so much water in the summer. It really is up to you whether you want to change the setup to something that will suit you better or adapt your watering, whatever you find easier to do. Next up, I have a Phalaenopsis orchid that is growing in a 6-inch pot. It is super healthy and always putting out leaves, roots, and flowers. I don't really want to go up to an 8-inch pot because of the extra space it will take up. I know. Will it hurt the orchid if I have to trim the roots to fit it back into the same size pot in the media? I shall be transparent, because at this point, we've been here for almost 12 years, besties. You know me. I've started to I'm sorry, this is the lingo I use on my second channel because it's kind of cute. Right, so it really is up to you. I personally would not, and I would not recommend anybody to cut the roots from a Phalaenopsis orchid, because it's just not nice for the orchid and you can easily just put it in a bigger pot. But I do understand the space constraint. Like, now more than ever I understand it. I will tell you that in my history I have done that. And I'll also tell you that the orchids were fine. But that's because of luck. Because it's kind of really easy to have some issues when you cut roots. Roots are not like leaves. Captain Obvious here. Yes, roots are not like leaves. They're constantly in a moist environment, which is prone to harbor and aid in the development of pathogens, both bacteria and fungi. So it's much easier to get an infection through the root system than it is through the leaves. The leaves are easy to dry. Put some cinnamon in there and you're out the door. They will dry in the air, but roots, not as much. Now, as I was saying, I think in most cases, bad things will not happen, but I think the risk is much higher when you cut roots. And also you might set back your orchid. You might stale it a little from its normal development, and I don't have the heart to do that, and I don't have the heart to advise anybody to do that. But I do also understand the human aspect of space. So it's a call that you will have to make based on my experience. This is what I can tell you. I wouldn't do it. What I did, I'll tell you what I did, which you shouldn't. I stopped buying big orchids. Pretty much, and I'm focusing on tiny pretty ones. Oh wow, I kind of look underexposed now. I'm not sure. I was overexposed for so many videos and people complained so much that now I'm underexposed. Okay, I can fix underexposure in post, no problem. Overexposure is harder to fix. Right, so about the root situation, I would not do it, and I would not advise anybody to do it, but I get you. If you want to do it, it's up to you. One more and we go, right? Next, This is a comment from Danielle. Hi Danny, I hope one day can replicate the lusciousness of your orchids. Leaves, flowers after 5 years, thank you, of growing orchids. I'm still unsure what to do when it comes to fertilizer. I see that you often add slow release fertilizer when you repot, but let's say for phals and cattleyas, how often do you fertilize on top of the slow release? Do you still go for the full dose of MSU or other orchid fertilizer with a schedule of 4-to-1, one flushing, I never flush, or do you reduce by half? Or, you know, how do you add slow release regularly? And then there's the potential blooming fertilizer to boost the flowers. Okay, so what I do, I don't overthink fertilizer anymore, and that's the best advice that I can give anybody. Don't overthink it. Follow the instructions, yes. If you don't want issues, follow the instructions. But I'll tell you what I do. Yes, I still use slow release fertilizer, and that's because I don't fertilize every single week like I should. Sometimes, you know, I'm like, how much time do I have? 1 hour, and then all hell will break loose in my life. Oh no, so I need to water very fast. And I just don't fertilize. So that's why I add the slow release fertilizer, because I know I cannot count on myself to fertilize as much as I should, so I need a backup. With the MSU, I fertilize at least twice a month. I try to make the time to fertilize at least twice a month with it. Because the slow release that I have, I don't think it's as complete as the MSU. So twice a month, 3 times a month, I'm trying to use the MSU. Yes, I'm using full dose. I'm using also reverse osmosis water fully. I don't combine it with tap water anymore because my reverse osmosis system is very efficient now. And that's what I do. I never flush. It's like, can you imagine flushing so many hundreds of orchids? No. So yeah, I don't flush. I don't find the need to flush. I never had so much salt buildup. If there is an orchid that is very new or very small, I just skip fertilizing. You know, I fertilize it like once. I don't even add slow release fertilizer. I just use the MSU, and once a month maybe I give it a good dose because it's just so tiny and it doesn't have growth, or maybe it's slow, like the Tolumnias. We had the Tolumnia video. Some of these Tolumnias are highly set back. They're doing nothing for months. Am I gonna like pour extreme amounts of fertilizer on them? No. I will make sure to fertilize as much as possible with slow release and everything, the Cattleyas, the Phalaenopsis, the things that are big. And most of my orchids are big in my collection because they're older. Tolumnias, I think they're some of the last orchids that I purchased. Some of them are very set back, tiny. There's no need to fertilize. So with those, I pipe down. But everything else tries to get 2 to 3 times the MSU and tries to get slow release fertilizer in their pots as well. And that's how I fertilize my orchids, and I think I should be a little more on point with the fertilizer. But sometimes it's just one of those days where, you know, you're shooting for less stars. Today, I'm shooting for no stars. How about that? Let's normalize that. No stars for me to shoot at today. I just want to get through the day. Right, so with that said, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you found it interesting. Hope I managed to answer your questions. And if you do have questions about orchids, leave them down below in the comment section. And with that said, thank you rePotme so much for sponsoring yet another video. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!